A global pandemic has just destroyed civilization. What happens when a smuggler is tasked with escorting humanity's last hope across the dangerous zones? Let's find out. The first episode begins with an interview that takes place in 1968. They are discussing how the world would react if there was a pandemic. An epidemiologist on the panel raises some concerns about a potential fungi infection being worse than any bacteria or virus. It is all theoretical to them because fungi are not likely to take over and disorient the body of a human like it can with animals. And this is because of the human body temperature. The second epidemiologist then raises a chilling question. He hypothesized that global warming could affect this factor, making humans susceptible to such fungus. It is now 2003, and there appears to be a fungi outbreak in Jakarta. In Texas, a man named Joel and his daughter, Sarah, hear about the events in Jakarta, but they do not take it seriously. Joel drops Sarah off at school while he and his brother, Tommy, go to work. After school, she goes to a watch shop to repair her father's watch as a surprise for his birthday. But then, the wife of the shop owner rushes in, frantically chases her out, and closes the shop early. Sarah is confused, but she heads home anyway. On her way home, she stops by one of the neighbors. It has been a while since she'd been there, so she hangs out with the couple like she used to. Before leaving, she notices the dog staring at the elderly lady without moving. When she goes outside, she can hear that there is a lot of police close by and there are fighter jets flying overhead. That night she gives her father the watch, even though he had forgotten his birthday. He loves the gift. They watch a movie together till they fall asleep. Later in the night, Joel rushes out to get Tommy because he had been arrested earlier. After he leaves, she wakes up because of an explosion. She turns on the TV, hoping to get some sense of what is going on. But there is only a national alert issuing an emergency action as opposed to some actual news. She hears her neighbor's dog outside and goes to investigate. The dog runs away, but she can see that the neighbor's door is wide open. She went in and found that her neighbors are dead, and the elderly lady was munching on her daughter's neck. She is chased by the elderly lady, but Joel and Tommy arrive just in time to save her. They immediately start to make their way out of the city, but the highway is packed. They turn and head to a more desolate road. Unfortunately, they drive into a chaotic scene. A plane falls from the sky, and the impact throws their truck. They survive, but Sarah can't walk because of a broken ankle. Tommy is separated from them, but they agree to meet him at the river. Joel and Sarah run into an officer who believes Sarah is infected and wants to kill her. In an attempt to escape, Sarah is mortally wounded and dies. It is 20 years later, and Joel is now in Boston. The city looks like a war zone controlled by Fedra, which has set up quarantine zones and curfews. As expected in a society like this, there is also some sort of resistance movement that does not agree with the dictatorship. They are called the Fireflies, and Tommy is one of them. Joel wants no part of this, so he sticks to smuggling things in and out of the zone. Tommy has gone missing on one of his missions, and Joel is trying to get his hands on a vehicle to find him. He pays for a battery, but the guy takes his money and sells the battery to someone else. Meanwhile, at the Firefly headquarters, a girl named Ellie is being kept in a room. Marlene, who seems to be the leader, explains to the girl that she can't let her go because she is special and makes plans to leave the quarantine zone with her that night. The battery they had been expecting arrives, but they are surprised that it doesn't work. Just then, Joel, who had been tracking the battery, arrives with his girlfriend, Tess. It turns out that they know each other, and Joel blames Marlene for involving her brother in the Fireflies' mess. Marlene tells Joe that she can get him a working and fueled-up vehicle if he smuggles Ellie out of the zone. Joel reluctantly agrees, and Tess tags along. They wait until it gets dark and make their way through a series of secret tunnels. They are caught by a Fedra officer. With Ellie by his side, he gets a sense of déjà vu and attacks the officer. With the way he knocks him out, it is clear that he is not over losing Sarah. The device on the officer that detects infected people began to beep red. It turns out that Ellie had been bitten 2 weeks ago but was still okay. There wasn't any time to dwell on this, so they continued to run. The second episode takes us back to day 1 of the virus in Jakarta. The dead body of patient 0 is examined, and the mycologist is horrified to discover that such fungi could have survived in a human body. Once infected, the woman had attacked her co-workers and bitten quite a number of them, who eventually turned violent. They weren't able to round up all the workers, so the mycologist says that the only thing to be done is to bomb the city so the fast-spreading cordyceps fungi doesn't get out of the city. Back to the present day. Joel, Ellie, and Tess have made it out of the quarantine zone and hide out in an abandoned building. Joel questions Ellie. He wants to know how she is still normal after getting bit and what Marlene possibly needed an infected kid for. Ellie doesn't give them any real answers. Instead, she leaves. Joel and Tess then discuss their options. Joel wants to take Ellie back to the quarantine zone and find another way to get a battery, but Tess argues that going through with the initial plan is the best course of action. She also adds that going back means Ellie would be caught by Fedra and killed. When Ellie comes back, it is obvious that she has overheard their conversation. As such, she gives Joel his answers. She explains that she has some kind of immunity from the infection. She tells them Marlene's plan is to take her to the Firefly base camp out west because they are already working on a cure that could need her DNA. Hearing this, Joel decides to take her there. After walking for a bit, they enter an abandoned and flooded hotel. They want to use the view of the place to see if the path ahead is clear. They get to the balcony and see a group of dead bodies on the path. Tess explains how the infected are connected to one another. The fungus actually grows underground, so stepping on the fungus in one place can wake up an army of infected in another location, and this isn't good because they would also know exactly where you are. The dead bodies are proof that the path is unsafe, so they decide to go through a museum instead. They make their way into the museum and run into one of the infected. They stand still and remain quiet, but it still senses their presence and screams. A few other infected come and join the attack, but they manage to fight them off. Ellie got bit in the process, but they are not alarmed because they believe she will be alright. They continue to make their way to the Firefly's base camp, but Tess seems to be in a bad mood. When they arrive at the meeting location, they don't find any of the Fireflies. Instead, there appears to have been a slaughter not too long ago. There is also a trail of fresh blood, and they follow it into the building. Judging by the scene, one of the Fireflies must have gotten infected, and it became a battle of the healthy versus the infected. Everyone is dead, and this dent in the plan upsets Tess. She reveals that she was bitten earlier and that the only hope is for Joel and Ellie to continue on the mission to find a cure. The ground starts moving, and this tells them that they must have stepped on some cordyceps, which has alerted an army of infected to their location. Reluctantly, Joel listens to Tess and exits the building with Ellie. The infected rush in, and Tess pours some gasoline on the ground. It takes a while for her lighter to work, but when it does, the whole building explodes. Tess dies along with a bunch of the infected while Joel and Ellie continue the journey west. That's it for the first 2 episodes of this series. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell, so you don't miss the next one.